with all the fun and excitement of a brand new adventure, Ghostbusters 2, the 1989 American supernatural comedy. We start off with Sigourney Weaver. She's pushing a baby down the road. The cart starts rolling away steadily. I love her, but this is not her best acting. Because, I know it's a comedy, but I think if your baby's going rolling down the road into traffic, you'd be a little bit more concerned. I'm already thinking as soon as this movie started, she's probably not with that guy anymore, because if he's not rich, she probably bounced. Nobody can stop the baby. Last time I checked, and there's just so many fun parts in this movie that just make me chuckle because of how ridiculous it is. I know we're not supposed to take it seriously, but come on. There is a baby rolling into traffic, and this is literally what these guys do. We asked them to get the baby. Everyone can see that it's a stroller. And when they go after the baby, this is exactly what they do. The stroller isn't even moving that fast. Courage! Stop! Why did they stop? Why did they stop? Look, everyone is just watching. Why did you stop? You ran out into this. The cart's not going that fast. Catch it. You freaking idiots. It's a baby. That part annoyed the hell out of me. Not off to a good start. This baby should seriously be dead. The stroller is weaving in and out of traffic, which now makes it very obvious that this is not just a mishap. Dude in the taxi. Yo, what's good? You're not gonna get the baby. Everyone is just looking as this car is just rolling by. No one is making an attempt to help get the baby. Holy Christ. I can imagine what the mother would be feeling right about now. Just as the bus is about to hit the baby, the carriage stops, and she's able to pick up her son. Oh, New York, New York, how I miss thee. We then see the Ghostbusters. They're going mighty fast, and it's exciting because we think they're on another job. Turns out they're just putting on a show for the kids because apparently they're no longer relevant. After all, the reason why they were so successful at their job in the first movie is because the end of the world was approaching. Now the kids, which I guess are like 5-year-old or something like that, their parents are telling them that these guys are quacks. We have to remember that this happened in a very localized area, so most people probably didn't see it. They were too busy, too far away, or just equated all the madness to being a very bad storm. I am so surprised. I mean, this takes place like 5 years later, right? I am so surprised that Dan Aykroyd went from looking like a baby face to a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I mean now he's like hard He-Man face. I'm like, dude, 5 years? That's what, okay. At least they still get paid. Sigourney Weaver's character, Dana, goes to Egon, who now works at a laboratory doing a whole bunch of tests on human emotion and how they affect the environment. She tells him what happened. She says, you know what? It was very weird because my baby was ziggy-zagging through traffic. It could be a ghost. But, don't tell Peter. Clearly, she and Peter are not together. Clearly, that is not their baby. I love Egon. Meanwhile, Bill Murray's character, Peter, has a talk show about psychics. Although it looks like he's having more fun disproving them or making fun of them without them actually knowing. Everyone there is predicting the end of the world and that it's going to happen before New Year's Eve. Let's find out if it actually does happen before New Year's Eve or on New Year's Eve. You see the mayor walk by from the first movie, but clearly he's not interested in talking to the Ghostbusters. See, his election is coming up and he's going to get voted for governor. And everyone just conveniently forgets about all the good things the Ghostbusters did. Now this stupid, soft, tender, woman crotch meat is like his bodyguard and telling him to stay away. He's really upfront with him though and says, listen, we can't have the governor or would-be governor being seen with the likes of you because everyone thinks you're freaking nuts. This guy thinks he's nuts too. You see Dana at work with this huge stupid art piece over the entire area being put against the wall, and her job is either restoration or cleaning up art stuff. This guy is making heavy advancements on her and she's like, no, I don't want you. I used to hate when people would do that. I'll be sitting and I'll feel someone, because you can feel someone playing with your hair, and you look around and it's this guy and he's like, I was just taking something out of your hair. And you're like, oh, thanks. I wouldn't mind that because it's very nice to do if the same person who had just touched my hair is not the same person I saw earlier on, picking his nose and eating it when he thought nobody was looking.
In fact, I better go.
I don't understand this. Every day I say, what, can you do something? You say, no, I can't do something. What, do I have a bad breath or something?
Aww. Okay, you know what? Kudos to this guy. His accent sounds so familiar. What is his accent? He sounds Polish. I don't know. Anyway, I do appreciate him because at least he's honest. He makes his advances known. He's been asking her out and she's like, no, know, instead of telling the poor man, I'm not interested, I don't want a relationship, unless you slept with the poor thing or let him on to get that job, why not just be straight with him? And he comes out to her and basically says, look, every day I ask you out, you always have some excuse. Like, is my breath bad? Like, what's going on? He's asking you point blank. Be honest with me, bitch. Don't have me sitting here smiling in my face, leading me on and wasting my time. This is very confusing and very mixed messagey. I hate when people do that.
Of course not.
All right. Well, I give you a rain check.
God, I swear to God, like, I love Sigourney Weaver, but the Dana character is freaking annoying. They obviously have a little bit of a bigger budget for this movie, and now we know something weird is going on with that painting. We see Ray again, and he actually owns an occult store, because of course he does.
Bet those science chicks really dig that large cranium of yours, huh?
I think they're more interested in my epididymis.
Peter comes to meet up with his old friends, because clearly they're all friends regardless of whether or not they're Ghostbusters. And they're chatting it up, and then Peter notices that they're both working on something. He asks them what, and they're kind of like being very coy about it. They just say they're doing some work for an old friend. And he's like, who? Who is it? Peter grabs Ray's ears, basically forcing him to tell that it's Dana. And we know that Dana still has the hots for Peter because she asked Egon not to tell Peter that she was there, while she was also asking him if Peter was asking about her. Oh, so now that your husband ditched you and you have a baby, now you want Peter back? Interesting how that works. Dana hears a knock at her door. Her apartment looks so cluttered, Jesus Christ. She goes in and sees Ray and Egon, knowing that she asked them to help her. What she was not expecting is for Peter to be there. Oh my God. My crotch is so wet. They all start to do studies on the baby, since he may be the source of this paranormal activity, while Peter does everything in his might to seemingly try to win her over. He's like, you know, you should have married me. What happened to your husband? Like, no freaking chill. She's like, nothing. Did he ditch you? No. He just took a job in London. We were having problems, and then he just went to London and left me here. So he did ditch you. Well, her excuse as to why she didn't marry him is because he didn't ask her. Wow. You know, lady, it's okay if you want to marry someone to let them know what your intentions are, so you can give the person the decision to make whether or not he wants to marry you. He says he wanted to be respected. Now, we don't know the whole thing about the relationship, and honestly, it's not even that important, but I'm guessing after he lost his relevance as a Ghostbuster, she changed the way she looked at him. Now that she's stuck with the baby, all of a sudden, the prospects of going out with him are looking better. It's a good thing he really likes this kid. And he's like, man, I should have been your father.
It's because I'm a simp, Rick. I'm an actual simp.
Since the event took place on the street, they utilized the toy devices that you win from carnivals to check the readings on paranormal activity. Finding that they're getting very strong readings, they dig a hole in the street. No, they did not get permission. When the cops come along to ask, they kind of wave them away, try to play it off like they're construction workers. However, this doesn't work the second time around, because when the real utility workers come up there, they're like, yeah, those lines that you say you're trying to fix, they're on the other side of the street. While all of this is happening, back at the museum, the Polish sounding guy is touching up the painting, and it electrocutes him from its eyes. Then a superimposed head comes out of it and speaks to him, and it just so happens to be the guy from the painting, who now wants this guy to go find a child so he can come back in the child's body. Sound like this guy was sniffing some concentrated stuff before working on his late night project.
Will be no more. Now is the season of evil.
Really laying it on thick.
Evil?
Now this guy worships this guy. Meanwhile, as the Ghostbusters are trying to stall the cops, Ray is being lowered under a tunnel where he finds all this painty, gooey slime. Looks like the stuff that's inside of those nasty stress balls that people squeeze when they can't control their anger. He takes a sample. Turns out that this stuff is responsible for all the negative energy, or the negative energy is creating all of this stuff. This is right under the street where Dana's baby got taken away, or something was trying to take it. Anyway, since the Lord has asked Vanos, or whatever his name is, for a baby, he has somebody in mind. He only asks that he can have the woman. And the evil person is like, you know what? Why not? Sure. She'll be my mother and she'll be your woman. I don't care. Just get me the baby. Dana is like, why are you at my house? And there's this weird red light hue going on that happened a lot back in the 80s. You'll have red if something is evil, and you know, people can't pick that up apparently back then, so they had to put that symbolism there and paint everybody in red, which looks so stupid. Was this Frankenstein? I don't actually know. I never watched Frankenstein. She tells him get lost, and then I shit you not, he turns into a flashlight. No, a flashlight, like the thing you used to see in the dark with. Seriously don't get this movie. Like, the amount of randomness that is in here is just sending me. Anyways, the Ghostbusters get into trouble because they were not supposed to be digging inside of the street. Obviously, this judge is freaking nuts. He basically says that if it were the old times, he would burn these guys at the stake. Wow. Things aren't looking very good to them because everything they say really does make them sound crazy. Not to mention, they have our friend from the first movie, Lois, as their attorney, which is like the worst decision.
But I don't blame them. One time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's who we're going with. It would have been better at this point for them to represent themselves. When the judge starts getting fed up, that stuff that they found on the street or under the street starts bubbling up. Remember Egon had said something about emotions and how they affect the environment? That was foreshadowing, obviously, for the stuff that they found in the tunnels under the streets. This goo is not the same stuff as the ghost skiz from the first movie. It was created from all the negative energy at the heart of New York because, I mean, it's New York. It's inevitable that all this negative ghost stuff would happen. The judge doesn't listen and all these weird things start happening, but now the people in the courtroom see it. These two ghosts that are in electric chairs, really horrible, murderous people that had been given the death sentence. They're now coming back for revenge. The judge is like, save me, oh my god, sure, I'll dismiss your case. Luckily, all their stuff was confiscated from their van that they can now use to bust the ghosts. They bust the ghosts, which is the first bust they've done in a while. I was wondering where all the other ghosts were from the first movie that escaped, but oh well. Egon with his sexy self. Because of this, they're back in business, and we get to see Janine again. This is good. On the Ecto, they're like, we're back, getting lots of business, and suddenly people are calling from all over, and I was wondering at first, like, why this was. Well, apparently I missed something, and my partner filled me in as we were watching it. You see, since the first movie, apparently, the Ghostbusters had been sued for property damage and a whole bunch of other stuff, which caused them to go out of business. It's not that there weren't ghosts anymore, it's just that, well, some people just wanted to stop them from doing their job because, you know, while they're busting ghosts that are also being damaging, they're costing some high-up people and elites money, so there's that. That poor man. All he was doing was freaking running. He wasn't doing anything. Okay, maybe he was being a little bit competitive and he was like, look, move the frick out of the way. He is running for his freaking soul. And they just like, listen, you can't run anymore. You're not hurting people, but you know, it is what it is. You're just being a nuisance. I guess people stop having rights when they're dead. Well, I guess technically that makes sense. Now, one thing I did realize is that Ray was wearing this thing. Can people not see the ghosts? Because Ray tells them when to hit the trap and Peter hits it. Why is it with this ghost they have to use that weird goggle thing, but for the other ghosts they don't? And can other people see the ghosts? I'm so confused. Like, I'm legitimately confused. Ghost freaking goggles to see invisible ghosts that we can clearly see. And then how do we know which ones are invisible if we can see them? They even have adverts for Ghostbusters. Business is doing well. Slimer's back, but he's now more of a mascot, and we see him driving a bus at one point, you know, just because. Ugh. While they're getting all this business, they start yelling at the goo. As an experimentation, they notice that it responds to emotions. Egon even experimented with certain emotions because he apparently used it as lube. Wow, you freaking dog. They perform an experiment where they put some slime inside the toaster and then play some really lifting tunes. The only good tune that they have in this movie because it's probably all they could afford. Then they pull over this suitcase radio thing. Then they notice the toaster gets very happy. At the museum, Dana starts noticing something weird about the painting. Peter shows up at her place of work where he then meets Janaz. What kind of handshake? Peter checks out the painting and mocks it, and Janaz does not seem very happy about this because he's the only one at this point in time who knows that the painting's alive, or the spirit is alive in the painting. When Dana goes home, she gives her baby son Oscar a bath. Yes, his name is Oscar, which had me wondering, who names their child Oscar? Who names a baby Oscar? Maybe it was an 80s thing. As she's about to put him in the tub and go in with him, she sees a big bubblegum looking monster that basically is a slime from that tunnel. She goes to Peter's place. She literally ran out her house without taking clothes or anything, which is very realistic because you have some horror movies where people grab a whole bunch of stuff in suitcases and you're like, dude, leave. Meanwhile, Ray and Egon are testing out the slime. There they also do some of the research for the guy in the painting. Under an excerpt of Magicians, Martyrs, and Madmen, it said that the guy in the painting, Vigo von Homburg Deutschendorf, was a 16th century Carpathian who was a tyrant, sorcerer, and psychotic autocrat. It also said that 16th century Carpathia was in a constant state of spiritual turmoil due specifically to that guy. So this guy single-handedly caused all of the negative emotions of that entire place. I guess it makes sense that he is the source of the evil in the tunnels under the streets. Anyway, back at Peter's house, Dana asks what they're gonna do about the sleeping arrangements. I'm thinking, you know, you guys are broken up, you're coming to my house, you know, my rules. Peter says we can just lie in the bed together, share the bed with the baby, or makeshift a place for the baby. Trust me, there's a way you can do that.
Well, how about you on the sofa and me and the baby in the bed?
Really, bitch?
Is this not my house? Am I not paying the bills? This is not my apartment. Is that not my baby? Oh, that's right. It's somebody else's. Granted, it would have been nice for him to offer. But if I am inconveniencing someone, regardless if I have history with them or not, we're not in a relationship, and I come to their house and they don't offer me their bed, I'm gonna sleep on the fucking sofa. God, the brazenness. Later on, Egon, Winston, and Ray go down to the tunnels. They find the river. Winston lowers something on a rope attached to him down there, just to see how deep it is. I don't know why they need to know that, but whatever. Winston gets hooked and gets dragged in. His friends are troopers because they go in after him. Meanwhile, Peter had convinced Dana to go on a date with him. She was playing hard to get at first, but bitch, who are you fooling? He had set up the date just perfect. He told Janine to babysit the baby, and she wanted to go on a date with Louis, or Tully. And Louis finally scores. Oh my. Good for you, Louis. When Ray, Winston, and Egon exit the tunnel, they are all screaming at each other. At least Ray and Winston are. You know, Egon's too logically minded to be that radical. Then Egon quickly realizes, hey guys, it's the goo. It's making us act like apes. Also, the river of goo leads here, the Museum of Art where the painting is. They barge in and basically cock block their friend while he's on his date. And they're like, listen, we figured it out. This is what's happening. We gotta go now. It's really important. These guys try to tell the mayor what is happening. The bodyguard tells them they should tell the guys downtown about it because, you know, the mayor can't be bothered with this. So he acts like he's their friend and he's like, guys, you need to let everyone know, especially the guys downtown. They'll help you. So these idiots are like, sure. Then they get put in a psych ward. He knew exactly what he was doing. Meanwhile, this guy's like, so I get the woman, right? This man's face looked like a freaking kaiju stepped on it. Meanwhile, at Dana's apartment, the baby's lowered through the window. Or maybe he just goes out the window because babies are freaking stupid and for some reason when they see an open window, they must go outside. That's why you always watch the babies and keep the windows locked because babies are instinctively stupid. But I think there was foul play here. The ghost might have had something to do with it. When Dana can't find Oscar, she does find him on the ledge outside her apartment building. Even my partner was like, why would she go to the other side of the house or apartment or have someone else go to the window and grab him? I think the reason she decided to stay there is because she did not want the baby to jump. She wanted to keep his concentration on her so that he wouldn't make any moves. She just didn't want him out of her sight. I can't blame her, and I would have gone out on the ledge and done the same thing. I would do that for my freaking dog, so I imagine a woman who had a baby that come out of her would do that. While she's trying to get her baby, she sees this weird ghost. It's the guy from the art place. Why is he a ghost? I'm not really sure. Maybe this is astral projection. Honestly, this movie just keeps making up things as it goes along. I don't really understand what's happening half of the time, but he grabs the baby, which makes me think he was responsible for the whole carriage thing before, and he carries the baby away like E.T. Knowing that it's Vinos, she goes to the museum, that's her baby, and he's like, look, we can be together, we can learn to love each other. Trust me, you do not want to oppose this guy, because he's freaking nuts. When she tries to make an escape, of course she's not going anywhere. Not until the bad guy goes inside her baby. Gross. What movie is this? While the Ghostbusters are locked away, the ooze starts coming out from everywhere all over the city, and people are freaking out. Once again, paranormal, supernatural occurrences are so common that it would be hard-pressed for anyone to deny that this is happening. This movie. Oh my god. Oh my god. I swear to God, this is so fucking stupid. You know, I have no words. The mayor is losing his shit, and then when his bodyguard person tells him that he had the Ghostbusters committed when the mayor asked for them, he fires the guy. Like, can you blame the man? You made it very, very clear through your body language that you didn't want the Ghostbusters around and you thought they were nuts. Then when your guy takes the initiative and gets rid of them, you get mad at him and fire him? Freaking guy. You know, the bodyguard dude? I don't know if it was just his hairstyle or what was going on, but he looks like a full adult child. I don't know what it is about his look. Just an awkward person, and it probably doesn't help that he's a villain. He's always a villain. Like, look at him. He looks like a 40-year-old, 7-year-old. Anyway, a spiritual cloud forms over the city. They get the Ghostbusters out. They bust out the Ghostbusters. I'm sorry. That slime stuff forms over the museum, and this looks so horrible. It doesn't even look like it's on the building. I thought it was hovering in the air. Just look at this horrible graphic. Like, I know this is the 80s, but damn. The coloring is not right. Like, it just makes me sick looking at it. The Ghostbusters try to bust it. It doesn't work. Too much negative energy. Well, the only way to combat this is to get positive energy. So they bust their slime all over the Statue of Liberty. Yeah, girl, take this cream. Then they play the song Lifting Me Higher. In the hell is that? Now they can control the Statue of Liberty and they go to New York so people can feel better. I swear, when you like talk about the movie with like no context or with not seeing the images or not having watched the whole movie, it sounds like ass. Now, because Lois doesn't know what the Ghostbusters are up to and something has to be done, he puts on the Ghostbusters uniform. You know who he looks like?
Cheaters never win.
That's what he reminds me of. I don't know why. Like, that's not giving you droopy vibes. No. Statue of Liberty is playing the music. I'm wondering if they just put the song on repeat, and how would you do that on that device? This makes everyone so happy. And by the way, for context here, this is New Year's Eve, the day when that psychic on Peter's show said the world would end, which still doesn't make any sense because the world didn't end. Statue of Liberty appears through the ceiling and is able to break through, you know, with the power of love. They come out of it and rappel their way down. They bust all over this guy, then try to get rid of the ghost. Nothing is working. He immobilizes the Ghostbuster, but something is wrong. The people outside are having New Year's cheer on New Year's Eve, or maybe it just turned into New Year's. So now with all the singing and all the happy cheer, that's affecting his will to stay in the form that he's in. Why is the Statue of Liberty on the ground? Did it like lie down to take a nap? And if it didn't and it fell, how is it that nobody heard? Like, seriously, what the hell is happening right now? The gum stuff starts dissolving and Tully's like, I've got to spray my thing. Meanwhile, the evil guy's having a hard time, drops the baby, goes back into the painting. But when he makes eye contact with Ray, like he did before in the museum, something goes wrong with Ray. The guy turns into this evil demon looking thing. Meanwhile, outside, Lois is busting the exterior of the gum thing. Ray gets possessed by the ghost, and now he is in Ray's body. They bust open a can of goodness liquid and all the ecto stuff all over Ray, and the ghost comes out, and they vanquish him and all the gooey gum stuff. Lois thinks he's the one who saved the day. Everyone who gets splashed with all this nice little gooey sticky stickies feel like $1 million because they're just flooded with positive energy. And so is this guy, oh my. Lois kisses Dana, guess they're back together. And then they all admire this painting that was suddenly drawn of them from out of nowhere. And that's the end of the movie, because none of this made sense. None of this made sense. First movie made more sense. I don't know what was going on with the second one, but whatever, I watched it. It was freaking bizarre. That's all I have to say. If I was to explain Ghostbusters 2 in one word, it would be bizarre. The special effects were marginally better than the first movie. The story writing was, I mean, you know. Listen, the only reason everyone likes these movies is because of the nostalgia factor. Let's just be serious here. And I guess in the 80s, this was something that was like revolutionary or something. It was fun and it was silly, but definitely not as memorable as the first one. Just so many contradictions in this movie, but it's all right. I would still watch it just because, you know, that other movie's out, the newer version, but now I know all the references, and that's why I watched it. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.